Friends, we're just a couple days away from the launch of Season 1, a 9-week season with 3 new characters, new modes, all sorts of exciting things. And what I want to talk to you today about is the new cards. So you know there's neutral cards, public cards, monster cards, etc. And in the Chaos modes and other modes, we have a chance to get these new cards for our different decks. And it begs the question of, are any of these actually any good? Do we want these? Are they going to replace our gear bags that we're all using in our decks today, or our rally cards? And so I'm going to walk through what they do. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. But before we do, I want to remind you something about myself. I am a father bear. I have a few baby bears running around. I'm going to show you some pictures of them right now. And that is why I am so incredibly thankful that I am actually sponsored today by the one and only Raid Shadow Legends. Before you meme too hard, I am actually playing the game. I'm having a good time with it so far. And they have Ninja Turtles. And when I was a baby cub, I love me some Ninja Turtles. I actually talked about in the first episode of that particular series. And if you join me, I have a code down in the description below to get a free legendary Harvest Jack. He's this cool pumpkin looking dude. And at level 10, you get Uugo. At level 10 or 20, you get Tagoar. And at level 40, you get Kaiden. Those are epics. And you can enter a code after you get in the game to get another legendary, Tholen Foulbeard, which is a great name, by the way. So I want you to join me. I'm starting a guild at level 13. I want you guys to come in there just like you are in my other games. And let's go through this together. Let's see if this game is being clowned on for no reason. And if nothing else, by you clicking the link, it shows the sponsor that you have interest in me, you have interest in them, and that keeps my babies fed. So if you don't want to do it for anybody else, do it for my babies, okay? And with that, let's get right back into the video. Let's stop waffling about. Let's talk a bit about the cards. So on my screen here, you're going to see the first batch. These are forbidden cards, and these are made to fit the season theme. Let's go through them. First one is Gesture of Freedom. It's a 0-cost card. Exhausts, so once you use it, it goes away. Initiation. What I understand of initiation is that when you play an ability card to draw a card, it will use that card. 1 random card in hand, cost -1. This one I don't think is terrible. I don't know that I feel like it is, you have to have it every single time. I think if it had maybe some extra card draw on it, I could see this being a bit better. But I guess if you pull it on an initiation, it's not too terrible. But then what card are you losing in the pull in the process? So I think it's okay. I could maybe see this with your more cost characters, something like a Haru, if you're using her, where a lot of her cards are more expensive and maybe you can drop those costs down. So overall, an okay card. Forbidden Portrait of Fury, 70% damage times 1 for every 4 cards in hand, +1 hit, draw 1 for each hit. This one I'm actually particularly interested in. Reason being is I love my Tressa deck, where she gets 3 Shadow Daggers per heal from Mika, and I can see a very easy path to me stacking more than 4 cards. It wouldn't be crazy for me to see a lot of value coming from this, and you're going to get extra draw for each card. So if you're running her or you're running other builds, we have a character who's stacking a lot of like bullets or whatever. I think this card can give you some extra draw while giving you some extra damage. So I think this one is actually one that could be particularly interesting in a lot of builds. All right, so next we have probably my favorite card in this entire stack, and that's Forbidden Ecstasy of Violence. I love that it starts at a 9 cost because it makes it interesting, and it makes it possibly something someone's like, oh, forget that, I'll ignore it. But if I understand this correctly, it's a retain, obviously. You're going to get 150% damage times 4, which is a very good chunk. When drawing by ability, cost of this card -1. When I first read this, I thought it meant drawing this card by ability. But what I think it means, and I want to test this obviously in a couple days, is whenever you are using like a draw ability card. So, you know, think of things with like, you know, Cassius or whoever, and they're drawing cards, that is what's knocking this down. From a damage perspective, if I'm looking at 300% damage, basically, or excuse me, 600% damage, if you're doing this times the 4, to me, that puts this in the realm of I want this to be a 3 cost or less. Because when I think about something like my Haru, I can get her anchor shots to do roughly 900 to 1,000% damage just on its normal use. And then I can throw the lift anchor and make that go up to over 1,000% damage, and she'll hit for over 4K on that card. And so if I want to compete this with a heavy hitter like that, This needs to be in that kind of 3 card range, but because it has retain, if I can sit on this for a couple turns, this might become a great closer card to where I get it to like that 3, and then a boss has a low chunk of change left on his health bar, and I can drop this after a few turns. So an interesting one, definitely my favorite one, because I just think it's a really cool concept. Then we have Guidance of Futility, a 1 cost upgrade. It's got initiation, so again, as far as I understand, that's when it's drawn by an ability, it goes off. When drawn by an ability, heal 40% and -1 stress of a random combatant. I think the cool thing about this is the potential to have the stress reduction, but at the same time, I don't know that I would chase this card. I guess it's one I want to see because it is an upgrade card. Like if I put this on, say, a Mika deck, could this give her a lot of extra oomph to reducing stress? Honestly though, stress, it hasn't been the hardest thing for me to work around anyways. So again, I want to test all these, but this one, unless I'm missing something massive here, I just don't feel like this is a amazing card, but I like the use of getting rid of stress there. Then we have a skill card, Disposable Ego. Draw 1, draw for each cost of that card. So, this one can be hit or miss. There's kind of similar cards out there already like this, where, okay, for 1 card, I'm basically going to get a different card in exchange. So I'm just swapping out, not a big deal. And then I'm either going to get the jackpot here and get a card that's like maybe, I don't know, like a 3 cost card, and I get a few extra draws, or I might end up with a 0 cost card and completely have no extra benefit. So it's not terrible on its own because it's basically just forcing a draw, but there's no real control here. So it's a little bit of it could go well, it could go bad. I think if I was playing somebody I really wanted to push a draw deck on them, I could see using this, but it's not going to go in like most of my characters' decks. It's definitely not up there with like a gear bag, in my opinion. Then we have Engraved Malice, again, another skill card. This has lead, so you could drop down to a 1 cost card depending on how your turns go. Draw 1, activate 2 random cards from hand. If this is at a 1 cost, this could be really interesting because, you don't have to play it, but if you have a good stack of cards and you're not trying to set up a very specific combo, like usually when I'm playing Haru, I have a very specific combo in mind to get the max damage, so I don't necessarily want to randomly activate cards. But if this is coming on a churn where maybe I have a lot of high cost cards, or I just want to get rid of things in my hand, I could see this one having some potential. I wouldn't want to play it at 2 cost. So I like that this has lead. But again, if you have a lot of lead cards, this may not activate anyways. So there's that part of it. It's an interesting one. I've got to really think about some decks that I feel like this could really give it a lot of potential, because otherwise this just becomes a dead card in your hand for that turn, and I don't think that's valuable at all. All right, then finally we have Forbidden Eternal Hunger, 0 cost card. It's retain, exhaust, response. So as far as I understand from response, I thought that this was activated when the card is drawn, but maybe I'm misplacing that term, or maybe it's another terrible translation. But even if it's not, draw 1 plus 1 AP is just great, especially on a 0 cost. It's a 0 cost return of an additional AP and a draw. I'm going to get this every time I see it if it's what I think it is. And if it does just pull, if it's what I thought it was, which is when the tooltip says when this card is drawn, then yeah, there's no loss to that card. Just pick it up, put it on somebody's deck. So let's go on next into our neutral cards. So first we have Aggressive Mutant. I love the design of this one for some reason. Exhaust, draw 1 own attack cards for 1 turn plus 50% damage amount. So it's basically a damage boost on your next attack card. I think that's great. Shell Forming Cell, I almost said that wrong. Retain 70% shield for each card in hand plus 25% shield. Again, given that this is a 0 cost card, I could see this on your big shielder like a Kalipe or whoever, and I don't see a ton of loss here. I think about something like where if you're really needing to survive, you're not pushing like a turn count, you could do Kalipe's big move where it's the X card, I forget what it's called, but it basically puts retain on all of your cards. Keep this one, then your next turn, you can play this one with a full deck of hand and get a just fat shield for free. So this one to me seems like a great one if you need that shielding survivability. All right, so then we've got Propagative Virus, damage 120 times 1, response plus 1 hit. I'm guessing each time then you draw this card, you get more hits. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably skip this one. Maybe it's good to stack this over time, but I'm probably building stuff around my own character's attacks that this one doesn't feel as good to me. Then we have Muscle Enhanced Evolver, 80% times 2 damage, inspiration plus 2 hits. So 160 on inspiration plus 2. It's not bad. Again, I don't know that I'm going to throw this in my deck though. Because when am I going to want to play this over something else? I'm not entirely sure. But the fact that it's a 1 cost card is not bad. But I tend to favor the attacks in my kits to begin with, so I don't usually push much into the attack cards. Then Self-Generating Experiment and Upgrade. When 6 or more cards are in hand, changes the cost of 1 random card in hand to 0 for 1 turn. 1 times per turn. So I've got to think about when am I using 6 cards. And this is, again, typically your characters with like bullets or, that are pulling a lot of, additional ammunition, something like Tressa or whatever. And so they would be the ones that are frequently in a 6 or more card scenario. But then a lot of their cards end up being 0 cost cards. So there's some potential use for this one. But I'd have to really think about other characters that maybe can push 6 cards. Like if I could get this into my Haru team and pull it early, maybe there's some value there. This one though, I don't know that I see as much reason to chase this one. Forced Learning Apparatus, another upgrade. Upon using 4 cards, draw 1 time each turn. This one's not bad. I mean, if you're really trying to push heavy card draw, if you launch this in like one of your early turns, again, this is probably more beneficial when you're not pushing for like, super quick turnarounds like the basin modes where you have to get like so many stars and so many turns. But if you're in a slightly longer fight, I could see this being helpful. But a lot of what I see in I don't want to call it meta, but in the game right now is you're trying to close fights out quickly. And so, I don't know, is this really going to get its value if you're getting in turn 3? This one, yeah, I'd probably skip this one personally, but I do see where it could have some application if it's a longer fight. Confiscation skill, 0 cost, draw 1 from draw pile or discard pile. Move 1 random forbidden card into hand. This is kind of neat. I like this one. So you're going to draw 1, and then you're going to get a forbidden card moved into your hand. So again, if we were to go back and let's say you had, a deck where you're, building a couple of these and you like them, this could be a good card to pair with it. Otherwise, a draw 1 from a 0 cost, if I'm reading this correctly, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but I'm still reading this as a draw 1. And then this is additionally from draw pile discard, move 1. So, I guess if this move 1 is not the draw 1 or is the draw 1, that could be a problem. But I think overall, even if this is just a draw 1 for free, that'd be a good card. And then finally, Forbidden Algorithm skill, 3 cost, exhaust, create 1 random forbidden card in hand. I don't like this one at all, because if you get the wrong forbidden card, then you've burned 3 cost or 3 AP to get it. I just don't see many turns where this is the thing I'm going to want to do. That leads us then, of course, to our last batch of cards, which is going to be the monster cards, and there's 2 of them. Chilling Godfather, 0 cost skill. Activate the bottom card of the draw pile. Choose 1 card in hand and move it to the bottom of the draw pile. I could see myself using this one. It's very random. Again, you don't have to use the card if you have like a specific turn you're trying to put in play. But then I also get to pick a card and move it into the bottom of the draw pile. Well, there's a couple things I'm thinking here. One is I could just play this at the end of a turn, and then I don't have to move anything, right? There's nothing that tells me I can't do that. Unless, well, no, because it says activate the bottom card. I was going to say, unless it's pulling the card, then you have to use that one. But if you're active, it says activate the bottom card. If this works the way it sounds like it does, which is tricky with the translations and localizations in this game to trust that, it's a 0 cost card to activate a card, and then you get to move a card should you want to. I can see that being a really good card. Hunger of Loss, the other one, a skill card for a cost of 1, exhaust. Draw 1. If there's no cards in hand, draw 4 extra. This is a great card. Honestly, for 1 cost, your worst case scenario is you're going to flip it into a different card. So there's no loss to use the card. But if you play this well at the end of a turn and there's no cards left in your hand, and you have the AP to use this, you're drawing 4 extra. So obviously you need the AP to use the cards that you pull up, but this could be a really good kind of refill your hand kind of play. And I could see a lot of use cases for this card. So I think both of these monster cards are really good. So overall, I'm really happy with the batch of cards they're giving us for this. You've got the monster cards. I think both are good. You've got a couple good ones in here. I love the design again, this aggressive mutant. I think it's just funny looking. And it's just a damage spike. I like this card. I like confiscation. There's some really good ones in here. And then the other set of cards, these forbidden ones, have some really interesting, use. And I really want to toy with a couple of them. Like specifically, I want to toy with this Ecstasy of Violence. And then Forbidden Guidance of Futility, is the one that I think is kind of like, but I don't know. There's quite a few good things in here. And I think it's going to make deck building that much more fun as we go through season 1 and get to play with these and see where they are useful and what kind of team compositions, your expensive teams versus your run a whole gambit of cards for free teams. I see a lot of value in here. And also, guys, don't forget about today's sponsor. Code's below. It's in the pinned comments. It's in the description, but I would love for you to also just take a few, click on it, help me out a little bit, and then join me in Raid Shadow Legends. I want to see if I can't get the Ninja Turtles because I'm a massive nerd. And until our next video or live stream, please take care of yourselves.